Happy Monday, Striver. I hope today you woke up and you chose to have a phenomenal attitude about this Monday, this beginning of the new week for yourself. In the US, where it happens to be President's Day, or anywhere else in the world, I hope this day met you with that thinking of historical legacy. I know that sounds like a weird phrase, historical legacy, but the reality is each of us has an opportunity to leave a legacy. We all are building history as we speak. Right now, in this moment, you are creating the legacy of your family, of your life, of your contributions and your creations. And often on Monday, it's a nice day to remind ourselves that our efforts, even if we struggle, our joys, even if they come too far in between, and our day's progress, even if not exactly what we wanted, or if we overachieve and it's even better than we thought, it's all laying a groundwork for our legacy, how people will remember us, how people will value and cherish us. And those things all come back to living with intention. That's what Monday is really about, isn't it? Setting a very clear and grand intention for what your life should be about. Not just this moment, this hour. I know that's hard because sometimes you wake up, you got to deal with family, you got to be on everyone else's agenda, you're busy. And yet at the same time, if we don't take a moment to pull back on a regular basis and think about the overarching arc of our life, the historical context of where we're at and where we're trying to go, what happens is we just give away our days to social media, adrift, distracted, being pulled into everybody else's world, and forgetting that we are defining our own, forgetting that we are actually writing our own future. I think of that quite often on days like today. President's Day is a day where I tend to go back and read some biographies of some of my very, very favorite books about leaders. And for me, my favorite thing to do is read their speeches, pivotal moments in which a leader gave a speech that galvanized a country. Wherever you're listening to, I'm sure you have access to books like that, or you can look them up on the internet of whoever your most famous leaders in history are. Go and see how they talked about the future, talked about the problems, tried to bring people together, tried to help others see a more clear vision of who we are and where we can go. Not everyone gets it right, and not everyone would agree who the good leaders are. But you should know, who do you admire in your country's history? Why do you admire them? What did they say and communicate? What lifted you up? I'll leave my own ideas aside to assure that we don't bring politics into Growth Day, but I would like to suggest a couple things that I believe people are struggling with right now in terms of moving on and building a legacy. These last couple of years was incredibly difficult, and we all struggled with all the uncertainty and chaos. But what I'm seeing, if I could give a presidential speech, it would be something about getting back out there. Now, this might not mean physically. I know different places around the world still have mandates and pandemic rules, and some people are comfortable going out and some people are not. And certainly some people have been more, living their life normally, and other people have not. But I think that what I mean by getting out there is mentally and emotionally and spiritually putting ourselves out there again and on the path of progress. If I could give a presidential speech, and don't worry, I'm never running for president, it would sound a whole lot like the opening preface of my book named The Charge. And forgive me for reading a little bit here, but this would be my short speech about what we all want to think about at this stage of our lives when it's time to learn, it's time to put ourselves out there again. Now, if you haven't read my book, The Charge, its subtitle is called Activating the 10 Human Drives That Make You Feel Alive. And so I often called it The Charged Life. Matter of fact, my very first podcast was called The Charged Life before we turned it to The Brendan Show. And so I use that phrase here to begin talking about the charged life. Forgive me for that aside. Here's what I would say to people. The charged life, the truly lived life, is not a routine existence in some quaint, picturesque village of safety and certainty. No, the life worth living is out there, in the wooded wilds of the unknown, on the craggy battlefields that test our wits and wills, in the daily fights with our own demons. It is found during the long onward slog through the storms and strife, when we hear only the whispers and taunts of our foes and opponents, who are stronger than we, on the ground where we are knocked sprawling and forced to face our own weaknesses, and on the mountaintops that we reach only because we pitted our every ounce of virtue, strength, character, and courage to keep climbing, no matter the slings and arrows flung at our backs or the barriers thrown up before us. It is out there that we come face to face with the best in ourselves and with our destiny. It is out there in a new world of uncertainty and adventure that we push ourselves, better ourselves, realize ourselves. It is only in the Herculean quest for something more that life fills us with wisdom and meaning, but only after we have paid with our sweat and at times our tears. It is in the marching on when we are tired and weak and fearful, and in the camaraderie of those fellow warriors we have striven with, our brothers and sisters and family and friends who cheered us on and toiled with us, despite the messiness and apparent madness of it all. It is out there on the path less traveled, an uncharted path chosen by each of us alone, and often meandering, overgrown path that leads only to another unpaved road or open field of opportunity where we must strike out once more with the same hope for victory and transcendence. It is out there when we have the guts to stand naked before the world as who we truly are emotionally, when we peer into the souls of those around us